The final day of camp arrived like a soft harmattan breeze, quiet, reflective, and full of farewells. The girls stood in the courtyard, dressed in white and gold ankara, each holding a letter sealed with red wax. Ms. Alumide stood at the front of the gathering. "These letters," she said, "hold the decisions of the national judges. Only 5 teams across the country will receive seed funding and long-term mentorship to begin their legacy projects." Hearts thumped across the courtyard. Dunni and Sayo sat beside each other, fingers intertwined. "No matter what happens," Dunni whispered, "we've already won." Sayo smiled nervously. "You're better at waiting than I am." One by one, the mentors handed out the envelopes. Dunni's name was called. Sayo's followed right after. They held their letter, staring at it. The seal felt like a heartbeat under their fingers. "Together?" Dunni asked. "Always," Sayo nodded. They broke the seal. The letter read, "Congratulations, Dunni Adebayo and Sayo Akand. Your project, The Girls Who Stay, has been selected as one of the 5 national winners. You will each receive a grant of 500,000 Nigerian nairas, mentorship for 1 year, and an invitation to the National Girls Leadership Summit in December. Your vision has not only inspired, it has ignited something across the country. We can't wait to see how far you'll go." For a moment, they couldn't breathe. Then they screamed, hugging each other and spinning in circles under the open Abuja sky. Girls gathered around them, cheering, clapping, lifting them up. Even Chisholm and Amina grinned and joined in the celebration. Later that night, the camp held a closing bonfire. Dunni and Sayo sat side by side, staring into the flames. Each girl was asked to share one thing she'd take home. When it was Dunni's turn, she stood slowly. "I came here to prove myself. But what I found was that leadership isn't about being the loudest. It's about lifting others." Then Sayo stood. "I used to think I had to leave home to matter. But now I know, we can make home matter." As the fire crackled, Ms. Alumide nodded in approval. "You too," she said, "have reminded us all that it's not where you come from that defines your greatness. It's what you choose to build with what you have." And so, with the stars bright above them and friendships forged across cultures, Dunni and Sayo stepped into the next chapter of their journey, not as girls hoping to be seen, but as young women who had learned to see themselves. And each other. When Dunni and Sayo returned to Ipetu-Jesa, the town felt smaller, but not in a bad way. It felt intimate, familiar, like a room that had been waiting for them to return with a new kind of light. They were welcomed like heroes. The principal rang the school bell for a special assembly. Teachers beamed with pride. Parents from the neighborhood came bearing food, jollof rice, moi moi, pounded yam. Children from nearby schools gathered around just to catch a glimpse of the girls who had gone to Abuja and returned not with airs, but with purpose. Dunni's mother cried openly as she read the award letter aloud for the neighbors. Sayo's father, normally a quiet tailor, called the local radio station to share the news. But the celebration was short. The girls had work to do. Using part of their seed grant, they cleaned out a section of the old community hall and converted it into a learning hub. With Dunni's help, they brought in books, some donated, some bought, and arranged them into makeshift shelves made of wooden crates. Sayo got to work transforming the backroom into a sewing studio. She painted the walls sky blue and taught her younger cousins how to measure and stitch. One day, she even fashioned uniforms for the hub's first 10 students out of leftover attire. They named the space Ayo, House of Joy. Their first Saturday session was quiet. Only 5 girls showed up. But Dunni smiled. Change doesn't shout. It whispers first. The second Saturday, 10 girls came. By the third week, parents from neighboring villages were asking how their daughters could join. They didn't stop with classes. Dunni invited a local pharmacist to talk about health and hygiene. Sayo brought in her aunt to teach basic financial literacy. They even organized a Mothers and Daughters afternoon where women came to share stories, songs, and old folktales. One afternoon, while arranging books, Dunni paused and looked around. "You ever wonder," she said, "what would have happened if we hadn't gone to that camp?" Sayo leaned back, dusting her hands. "I used to. But now I think, it was never really about the camp." Dunni looked up, curious. "It was about the choice to say yes," Sayo continued. "To each other. To the dream. To being bold." Dunni smiled, feeling a warmth she couldn't describe. Maybe this was what legacy felt like, not loud, not fancy, but real. Rooted. Like the trees they used to sit under, dreaming of more. As the sun began to set, the girls sat by the door of the learning hub, watching their students chase each other, giggling in the orange light. The work had just begun. But they were home. And home, for the first time, felt big enough to hold all their dreams. 6 months passed in a blur of laughter, learning, and late nights at Ayo. Word about the hub spread quickly. Articles were written. Photos were shared online. Even a local councilwoman came by one Saturday and promised to donate chairs. Then came the invitation. A sleek envelope arrived in the post, sealed in gold foil. "You are formally invited to the National Girls Leadership Summit in Lagos. Your work with The Girls Who Stay has been shortlisted for the National Changemakers Award." Neither of them had ever been to Lagos. Sayo clutched the invitation like it might vanish. "Lagos ko? I'm not ready." Dunni grinned. "You were born ready. You just didn't know it yet." Their families rallied around them. The church helped with transport. Their school principal ironed their certificates. Dunni's mum braided their hair herself, weaving tiny cowries into the ends. When they arrived in Lagos, it felt like entering a whole new world. Tall buildings, fast cars, streetlights that stayed on at night, it was like all the books Dunni had read had come alive. The summit was held at a grand convention center by the ocean. Red carpets. Banners. Cameras. Girls from across Nigeria, some wearing suits, others in traditional attire, filled the halls with ambition and laughter. Dunni and Sayo presented their journey in front of a panel of national leaders, entrepreneurs, and youth advocates. They spoke with calm voices and clear hearts. "We didn't start with much," Sayo said during their speech. "Just faith in each other. And now we want to help girls believe in themselves," Dunni added. "No matter where they live." They received a standing ovation. During a lunch break, they sat by the ocean, toes buried in the sand. "You know what's wild?" Sayo said, watching the waves. "We didn't change just because we left Ipetu-Jesa. We changed because we chose to come back." Dunni nodded. "Sometimes the world needs your voice. But sometimes, it just needs your presence." That evening, during the final ceremony, awards were given. When the National Changemakers Award was announced, the room held its breath. And the winners are Dunni Adebayo and Sayo Akand, for The Girls Who Stay. The girls stepped onto the stage, hearts pounding, as a sea of claps and cheers lifted them higher than they ever imagined. But even in that moment of glory, they never forgot where it started. A small village. A shared dream. A sisterhood. As they raised the award, they did not raise it alone, but for every girl who had ever wondered if her story mattered. And together, they showed that it did. The year after the National Girls Leadership Summit changed everything for Dunni and Sayo. They returned to Ipetu-Jesa, but this time it felt different. The quiet town, once small and distant, now held a deeper meaning for them. They had become local celebrities, not because of the awards or recognition, but because they had sparked a movement. More girls began to arrive at Ayo. Some were from nearby villages, others were from towns across Osun State. Word spread through local radio, newspapers, and social media. The initiative started by Dunni and Sayo had become a hub for empowerment, education, and transformation. Their grant money had been put to good use, and more funding followed. They were able to offer workshops, provide scholarships for girls to attend secondary schools, and even create a small cooperative for local women to sell handmade crafts. But as much as the hub grew, so did the girls. Their dreams expanded beyond the confines of Ipetu-Jesa. They received offers from universities, NGOs, and even multinational corporations, each wanting to partner with them. One afternoon, while sitting at the community hall, Sayo turned to Dunni. "Do you think we've made a difference?" she asked, her eyes thoughtful. "I think we're just getting started," Dunni replied. "There are so many more girls who still need to hear that they matter. That they are enough. And we're the ones who'll tell them," Sayo said with a smile. In the months that followed, Dunni and Sayo began to organize regional workshops, reaching out to other rural communities in Osun, Ogun, and even Lagos. They traveled, learning from other leaders, but always returning to Ipetu-Jesa, where their hearts remained. Then, a year after the summit in Lagos, a major opportunity arrived. The United Nations contacted them. They had been nominated for the Global Women's Leadership Award, a new platform to support their project internationally. This time, when the letter arrived, they didn't need to look at each other for reassurance. They knew what to do. "We'll go," Dunni said, a quiet strength in her voice. "We'll show the world what a small town can do when it believes in its people." Sayo nodded. "And we'll bring back everything we learned to keep growing Ayo." In the weeks leading up to the award ceremony, preparations began. Dunni worked on refining their speech, and Sayo designed a new set of uniforms for the girls they mentored. It wasn't just about the award, it was about continuing the work, about being that voice for the unseen girls. On the day of the ceremony, standing on the global stage, Dunni and Sayo spoke not of their own accomplishments, but of the girls they represented. "Every girl, no matter where she is from, has the right to dream," Dunni said. "We are not special because we were chosen. We are special because we chose to act." Sayo finished, "And this is just the beginning. The world needs more spaces where girls can thrive. We won't stop until every girl can find a place to belong." The applause was deafening. When they returned home, they didn't feel changed, but affirmed. They knew they were not on this journey alone. They were walking with every girl who had believed, every girl who had dared, and every girl who would one day be part of Ayo. And that night, under the stars of Ipetu-Jesa, they sat together, as they always did. "Where to next?" Sayo asked, looking out at the horizon. Dunni smiled, her heart full. "Wherever the road takes us. Together." And they knew, as long as they had each other, there was no path they couldn't walk. And so, the story of the girls who stay doesn't end here. It lives on in every girl who dares to believe, build, and belong. This is only the beginning. Thank you for watching. We hope the story of the girls who stay inspired you as much as it inspired us.